Hello and welcome. You're watching Markets Today. I'm Sakshi, Batra, and with me is Aabha, Bakaya, Senior Editor, Business Today Television, and we are here to talk about markets. You know what, Aabha, after 5 days of sulking, finally the markets are in the green. But I have my doubts whether this will continue and the momentum will sustain,
It should continue, Sakshi. Let's paint a bull case, right? In the US, where inflation has been skyrocketing, some analysts are saying that inflation is peaking. We're also hearing a case for a strong consumer recovery, pent-up demand or revenge buying. I mean, I know that these were themes we saw post some of the past phases of COVID, but there's still enough momentum in the economy for people to feel that spending will be back in force.
Well, I have my doubts because, the rising case of COVID in China are again, fueling some fear again into the economies, and the China lockdown and Shanghai lockdown again fueling into the supply lockdown and constraints over there too.
So for the moment, and we know that yes, masks are back, but for the moment, authorities have been fairly resilient. They've been saying that as long as everyone's vaccinated, they're hyping up the cases of vaccinations, booster doses, opening that up. So as long as people are protected, things should go on and work should go on as normal.
Right. But you talked about inflation, and that's been a major concern. You talked about US, how US Fed has been completely talking about that they want to rein in inflation. Whether it is about compromising growth, they are not bothered about it, but inflation is their major enemy right now, and they want to contain that. And for that, they are going to willing to, raise the interest rates, which is going to be an extremely tough task for all of us as well.
So the case there can also be that on one hand, markets are factored in to a large extent, this impending and looming rate hike. Back home as well, it seems par for the course that the RBI will also be squeezed into making that decision sooner rather than later, even though they've been very accommodative on growth. And yes, we all know that the IMF also forecasted that growth will be hit on the back of what we've seen in Russia,
3.6%,
But still, market men are very confident that the sort of mix of domestic factors will continue to hold India strong. I know you're going to say crude oil prices are skyrocketing.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But they do believe the worst is over, for example. I mean, look at Reliance today as well, right? Talking about crude, the stock was on a go. I mean, one part of it is, Morgan Stanley and its inclusion in the APAC index, but also the fact that there's a very strong belief that cash flows will be strong, its green energy initiatives.
But perhaps for the commodity stocks, like Reliance Industries. But what about the others? India Inc. is already feeling the pinch on its margins. And this is going to, go on and extend into the April to June quarter as well, because large part of the price rise will actually come in there. So we are only seeing the initial signs of those margins getting eroded right now.
Well, I think, Sakshi, I don't know what to say about the coming quarter, because you may well be right. But at least for this quarter where the worst was expected, we've actually seen some pretty good earnings, let's say so far. I mean, we're very, very early in the season. But, for all of the nervousness that came on the back of Infi and its attrition numbers, I mean, look at TCS. I mean, you had the bellwether report, a phenomenal set of numbers, billion-dollar deals pouring in at a time like this. So they don't seem to be worried. Attrition is probably a whole other debate. I think post-COVID, the whole behavior around work and what employees are looking for has changed.
But do you think that the markets are perhaps taking an excuse of anything that's minor also and correcting at that as small as attrition?
So you're hinting at valuations, to which a lot of the bulls would say it's time for profit booking where it's required, consolidation where it's required, and there are so many opportunities that are still there in the market. I mean, so many pockets that are expected to now see a lot of momentum. Based on, let's say, we had Bala talking about the rural-focused economy, and in fact, talking about Bala, he wasn't concerned about the hit of commodity prices on some of those FMCG majors, because he is expecting to see such a strong, momentum coming in and demand coming in from the rural economy and growth in the rural economy.
But I'm still worried about few pockets, like you just pointed out. Perhaps they'll be just far and few between pockets that will lead to the next leg of the rally, because there is concern on IT already having outperformed in the last 2 years. Banks have still not come out of that underperformance even now. So, and that's been a laggard, despite that big bang announcement of HDFC Bank merger. Look at the way stocks have been thrashed after that. I mean, that's another concern. and oil and gas companies have already had their run, metals have had their run already. So what next? And pharma companies already had the major part of COVID playing out for them. What next?
Well, we've been asking this question for the last 2 years, haven't we, Sakshi? When the markets were at those records, just when we thought the worst time had come for them. And I think the same applies now, in the sense that I don't see momentum dying down. I mean, even after a couple of really, really vicious days, we're starting to stabilize. We've seen a 3% plus jump in RIL today. So every time we think that the worst is coming, we just seem to bounce back and grow stronger. I think what we've been hearing is temporary expectations on overall returns or average returns, play for the long term, but that markets will continue to be resilient.
Absolutely. And that's the hope right now, that the markets do stay really resilient. But most of the experts are still warning all the investors to be very, very cautious at this point in time and maintain that cash also in your portfolio, because in case we do see some growth pangs coming in, you will have some more opportunities to get into the market. Thank you so much, Aabha, for speaking to us. And there was the bull in versus bear case in the markets. Let's hope for the best. You stay tuned on to Business Today, for a whole lot more is coming up right up next.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.